Hey you guys, I am popping in real quick. This is like a little unplanned intro to this video. So I made a 45-minute video, 40-something minute video, and I asked you guys, would you prefer having a nice long video to watch during quarantine, or would you rather that I break it up into different parts? And so a majority of you guys said break it up into different parts. So that's what I did. So please like, comment, and subscribe. Check out the video. Tell me what you think. Definitely tune in to part 1, 2, 3, and 4. Check out all the parts so you can get the full gist of the video, okay? See you later. Hey you guys, it's ICI Candy back with another video, and I thought this would be an interesting video to break down. I also have a music artist that I want to shout out in this video, so stay tuned and let me know what you think about this topic. So as we know, DDG's song is called Toxic. What does it mean for a relationship to be toxic? Let's look at it. There's certain things in a relationship that cause it to be toxic. So let's read what it says here. It says, by definition, a toxic relationship is a relationship characterized by behaviors on the part of the toxic partner that are emotionally and not infrequently physically damaging to their partner. A toxic relationship is characterized by insecurity, self-centeredness, dominance, and control. Okay. And a couple of those things I would say were present in Kennedy and DDG's relationship. And we as viewers, subscribers, have been, in front row seats to see what's been going on in their relationship. And because we are naturally attracted to love and happiness and laughs, we kind of turned a blind eye, or maybe didn't really take too seriously some of the other things that were coming up that we were clearly able to see between their relationship. And it's important though that a lot of the people who watch DDG and Kennedy, they're young. A lot of people who watch YouTube, are young. And it's really important that they know the difference between like a healthy relationship and an unhealthy relationship. And, while a person can laugh and smile and, show the camera that everything is great and they may seem like they're perfect for each other, the reality of it is sometimes they're just not, So it's really important that you get the right message from what they're trying to say and what they're trying to not say. So we're going to learn today, because if I don't do anything, I want to be able to at least try when I'm not making videos or, funny videos at that. I really want to make sure like people are getting something out of what we watch all the time. Quick disclaimer, I'm not saying this specifically about Kennedy and DDG's relationship. I'm saying this in general about any relationship that has signs of toxicity. But there are some obvious things that you'll be able to see once I mention these examples. But again, this is not to bash anyone. This is just talking. And because he titled the song Toxic, I'm talking about the title of the song and the things he's already mentioned. So I want you to be able to recognize when a relationship is toxic, okay? So for one thing that makes a relationship toxic is being in a relationship with someone who continues to bring up the past and blame you for past mistakes. That's a sign that your relationship is toxic. If both people in the relationship do it, you're doomed. But you have to recognize when your partner, it's one thing if they just bring up one thing every so often, but if a person constantly blames you for like things you've done in the past, or they they continue to bring up things in the past. You did something wrong, 2 years ago, 2 months ago, but yet they still continuously bring it up. That's a sign that that person has a toxic characteristic about them. And you want to be mindful of that. I'm not saying that when a person does that, they're the most terrible person in the world, but you want to make a mental note in your head how often your boyfriend or your girlfriend does that. Another sign that you might be in a relationship with a toxic person is somebody who's passive aggressive. Like, they're not direct. They don't want to say what it is that's the problem out loud. Instead of just being direct and telling you what the problem is, they actually try to find small little petty ways of like getting on your nerves and kind of pissing you off. If you see that a person does this a lot in your relationship, whether it's your boyfriend or your girlfriend, it could mean that they're not really feeling safe in the relationship and they're not secure. You know, they're not content in the relationship with you, and, you know, they just don't feel comfortable in the relationship and communicating with you. And that's a red flag, because if somebody's just going to piss you off to get a reaction out of you because they don't know how to communicate, that's toxic, because that creates an argument where it wasn't even necessary, when all they had to do was bring the problem to you like an adult and talk to you about it. So if you're in a relationship with someone who's like that, again, just like I said before, be mindful. Not saying they're a terrible person, but you want to make a mental note, because that is a characteristic of a toxic person. Another characteristic that can seem like it's toxic in a relationship is a person who's always threatening that they will break up with you, or that they don't want to be in a relationship with you. You'll get into like a little argument, and then all of a sudden they'll say, I can't be in a relationship with someone like this. And they'll make you feel like they don't want to be with you. Relationships are about commitment, okay? And if you are not committed to a person, then you're going to say certain things like this to let them know that you're not really in it for the long haul. And a person can pick up on things like that. Anybody who's willing to just say that off the cuff, just out because you got into an argument or because you did something to get them upset, that's a sign of a toxic person, or a person with toxic characteristics. You know, just because you're committed to someone doesn't mean you're going to like every single thing that they do. Okay? It doesn't mean that you're supposed to love them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. How do people get married? If that was the case, no one would be in a marriage, you know, or in long relationships. So just because you do something a person doesn't like, they shouldn't be making little small comments about, you know, wanting to break up with you, or they need to find somebody who doesn't do this or doesn't do that. You know, when they start making comments like that, it breaks down your self-confidence and your self-esteem. And that's a toxic characteristic. You know, you're supposed to be in a relationship that builds somebody up. So when someone makes like little comments like that, it slowly breaks you down. So again, like I said before, if you notice signs that a person that you are in a relationship with, boyfriend or girlfriend, makes comments like that, then you have to just make a mental note that that's a characteristic of someone who is toxic or has toxic characteristics. Another sign that a person that you with, either your boyfriend or your girlfriend, has toxic characteristics is when he or she, like, they'll blame you for how they're feeling. So, for example, let's say they had a bad day at school, or, you know, a bad day at work, and, you know, they come home and, you know, you notice that they're not feeling up to themselves, but you're like in your own world, kind of worried about your own thing. You're maybe asking them what's wrong, but you're not really, you know, maybe giving them 100% of your attention, just not, you know, overly asking them what's going on and trying to figure out why they're upset. Then that person ends up seeing you as not being sensitive enough and not paying attention to them. And then they get frustrated, and then an argument starts. You know, they feel like you should have come over to them and ask them what's wrong. They feel like you should have been more in tune with their feelings and why they had a bad day. You didn't stop every single thing you were doing to focus on why they were in a bad mood. Now, again, if this is something that happens once in a while, once in a blue, then it happens. Everybody has, you know, their moments like that. But if you find that when you're in a relationship, when your partner has a bad day, you feel like you have to drop everything that you're doing to try to help that person feel better, that's not a good sign, because that means that person is now going to depend. You guys are going to depend on each other to make each other feel better all the time. And a relationship can't be like that. It's like, it's one thing if a person makes you feel good and you're like, oh, okay, when I'm around you, I feel better. But if a person doesn't give you the reaction that you want 100%, you can't just lash out at them and say that they weren't paying attention to you. You can't rely 100% on the person that you're with to drop everything that they're doing just to try to make you feel better. Because if they can't keep that up,
For wedding rings, one of a kind, glad your mind's such a blessing. Future baby mama, if you're ready, you know that I would do it, so don't test me. Looking sexy, you bring out the best me, they gon' copy. Shawty, you the best I've ever had by far, so I'ma treat you better than your last by far. No matter what you do, can't nobody tell me shit about you. I really can't explain the things you do, but it makes me crazy over you. No matter what you do, all I think about is you. And if they got a problem with my boo, then they got a problem with me too.